this chapter. Hopefully it is big enough for everyone to read it. Manjunath Prabhu, would I like to read now?
Okay, Guruji. Thank you. Hare Krishna, everybody. Chapter 20, description of autumn. The killing of Pralambasura and the devouring of the devastating forest fire by Krishna and Balarama became household topics in Vrindavana. The cowherd men described those wonderful activities to their wives and to everyone else, and all were struck with wonder. They concluded that Krishna and Balarama were demigods who had kindly come to Vrindavana to become their children. In this way, the rainy season ensued in India. After scorching heat of the summer, the rainy season is very welcome. The clouds accumulating in the sky, covering the sun and the moon, become very pleasing to the people, and they expect rainfall at every moment. After summer, the advent of the rainy season is considered to be a life-giving source of everyone. The thunder and occasional lightning are also pleasurable to the people. The symptoms of the rainy season may be compared to the symptoms of the living entities who are covered by the three modes of material nature. The unlimited sky is like Supreme Brahman, and the tiny living entities are like covered by sky or Brahman, covered by three modes of material nature. Originally, everyone is part and parcel of Brahman. The Supreme Brahman or unlimited sky can never be covered by a cloud, but a portion of it can be covered. As said in Bhagavad Gita, the living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Son of Godhead, but they are only insignificant portion of the Supreme Lord. This portion is covered by the modes of material nature, and therefore the living entities are residing within his material world. The Brahma Jyoti, the spiritual effulgence, is like the sunshine. As the sunshine is full of molecular shining particles, so the Brahma Jyoti is full of minute portions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Out of the unlimited expansion of the minute portion of the Supreme Lord, some are covered by the influence of the material nature, whereas others are free. Clouds are accumulated water down the glands by the sunshine. Continually for 8 months, the sun evaporates all kinds of water from the surface of the globe. And this water is accumulated in the shape of clouds, which are distributed as water when there is need. Similarly, the government exacts various taxes from the citizens, such as income tax, sales tax, which citizens are able to pay by the different material activities, agriculture, trade, industry, and so on. This taxation is compared to the sun drawing water from the earth. When there is again need for the water on the surface of the globe, the same sunshine converts into water, into clouds, and distributed all over the globe. Similarly, the taxes collected by the government must be distributed to the people again as educational work, public work, sanitation work, etc. This is very essential for the good government. The government should not simply exact taxes for useless spending, the squandering. The tax collection should be utilized for the public welfare of the state. During rainy season, there are strong winds blustering all over the country and carrying clouds from one place to another, distribute life-giving water to the needy living entities. Water is urgently needed for summer season, and thus clouds are just like a rich man who, in times of need, distributes his money even to the point of exhausting his whole treasury. So the cloud exhausts themselves by distributing water all over the surface of the globe. When Maharaja Dasharatha, the father of Lord Ramchandra, used to fight with enemies, it was said that he approached them just like a farmer uprooting unnecessary plants and trees. And when there was need for giving charity, he used to distribute money exactly as the cloud distributed rain. The distribution of rain by cloud is so sumptuous that is compared to the distribution of wealth by a great manifest person. The clouds downpour is so profuse that the rains even fall on rocks and hills and on the oceans and seas where there is no need for water. The clouds resemble a charitable person who opens his treasury for distribution, who does not discriminate whether charity is needed or not. He gives in charity open-handedly. Before the rainfall...
Prabhuji will stop here, Prabhuji, I think.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So here in this chapter, it begins uh, by the description, a little prelude that uh, earlier we in the earlier chapter, Krishna did the pastime of devouring the forest fire, and before that, it was the killing of the demon Pralambasur. And earlier, there was a description of the season of summer. So summer season, because Krishna appeared in Vrindavan, which is in current time in the country of India. The weather pattern is little different. Here in England, we have four seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter, and it goes in cycle. And in India, the seasons are in three kinds of season. There's a winter, summer, and monsoon. Actually, there are six. There are six, but in grossly there are these three seasons. They come one after the other. So the summer in the Indian weather system, it's a very hot season. Very scorching heats are there. Heat is there. But in Prabhupada mentions in the purport, which is again from the Srimad Bhagavatam, that actually when Krishna appeared, the summer season was very pleasurable. It was so nice summer season that nobody had any uncomfortable condition because of the summer. There's a description that the air is always moist with the water droplets because there are so many lakes and so many waterfalls. And then there is the bees and flowers. Everything is so nice, and nobody felt any uncomfortable condition because of the summer season. And then these two fast pastime happens: the forest fire and the killing of Pralambasu. And now after the summer season comes the rainy season. And in the rainy season, because the summer is very hot, the people in that condition they expect some relief, in the form of the rain. Uh, and the rain when it comes, people become so happy. In fact, there are various festivals which celebrate the coming of the rain. uh, and then the whole atmosphere, people have kind of the sense of relief. Yes, the rain has come now, and the rain is they welcome the rain. Uh, and and Krishna also does so many pastimes in the rain also. Krishna doesn't stay home, he does so many pastimes. But here in this chapter, this chapter begins by the description of clouds. So here it is mentioned that that cloud, the first part of the cloud is that the cloud is compared like a living entities. So we as a living entity, we are part and parcel of Krishna. And Krishna can be compared to the whole sky. But sometimes this sky, some very insignificant portion of the sky is covered by a cloud. Uh, So we living entities, those who are in this material world, we are very insignificant number of people who are actually in the spiritual world. The bigger number of people there in spiritual world, only the very small insignificant number of people, those who decided to reject Krishna and try to enjoy separate from Krishna, those who have come to this material world. So those who are compared like a small cloud. So actually, it is not possible to cover the whole cloud. Oh, sorry, whole sky. But the just a second. This message is okay. So the whole sky cannot be covered, but the some portion of the sky can be covered by a cloud. So we living entities, we are like compared like a cloud. So we are covered by these three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Uh, so that is the first lesson, kind of analogy which is given here. And then, what does the cloud do? It's the second, kind of lesson. So cloud, they. uh, they collect the water from the ocean. So the sun, with his sun rays, the water evaporates from the his, ocean. Then the clouds travel, and then the clouds they come to the travel, and when they are you know when the time is ready, they they give the water back in the form of rain. So this is compared like a government department. Now we can see, how even this the how to rule a kingdom or how to run a government. It is also given in the pages of Krishna book. There is a lesson for the government. The government, they exact the taxes in so many forms. Income tax, VAT, and sales tax, and so many forms of tax are there. But this tax is collected for the welfare of the people. So they collect the taxes in so many ways. So similarly, the water from the ocean, it is collected in the form of a cloud. Then the cloud gives out in the charity. So the cloud is compared like the government department, which uses all of this water which is accumulated back to the back on the land. Uh, and then the next analogy is given. The that clouds are like the very rich charitable person. Uh, so the charitable person, he does not discriminate who needs charity, who does not need charity. Similarly, the rain clouds, they do not discriminate whether if somebody needs water or does not need the water. It gives the rain, it gives the water where the land is dry, or gives the rain where even there are stones. And it is said it even rains when there is a water, again in the rivers and oceans, again there is a rain there. So the another lesson is that when we give out charity, we should not discriminate. That we should be very equal in distributing charity. So that is the other lesson. And then uh, the little analogy of Maharaj Dasharath. Uh, that Dasharath Maharaj, he was a very expert king. He will go on the and fight wars with the kings, those who are not running their kingdom, properly. So that is compared like a uprooting the weeds from the farm. Those who know the gardening, so if you have a nice, healthy garden, from time to time, one must remove the weeds from the garden. So those kings who are not ruling their kingdom according to these scriptural injunctions, he will go and fight war with them. But then again, whatever wealth he will accumulate, he will distribute it, very nicely to all the people. So that another analogy is given. Okay, let's read now. I think we will do more reading, and then I'll talk less today because this description itself is a very self-explanatory. So anybody like to read? I'll just share the screen again.
Shall I
Next
read,
portion.
Guruji?
Yes, Mataji, Vanda Mataji, please go ahead.
When Maharaja Dashrath, I think it's from here.
Mataji, that we finished now. We finished now. We go with this before the rainfall.
Before the
This
rainfall.
paragraph.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before the rainfall, the whole surface of the globe, again it's gone somewhere. Yeah. Before the rainfall, the whole surface of the globe becomes almost depleted of all kinds of energies and appears very lean. After the rainfall, the whole surface of the earth becomes green with vegetation and appears to be very healthy and strong. Here, a comparison is made to the person undergoing austerities for the fulfillment of a material desire. The flourishing condition of the earth after the rainy season is compared to the fulfillment of material desires. Sometimes, when a country is subjugated by an undesirable government, persons and parties undergo severe penances and austerities and salaries. This temporary profit is like the flourishing of the earth in the rainy season. Actually, one should undergo severe austerities and penances only to achieve spiritual happiness. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is recommended that tapasya or austerity should be accepted for realizing the Supreme Lord. By accepting austerity in devotional service, one regains his spiritual life, and as soon as one regains his spiritual life, he enjoys unlimited spiritual bliss. But if someone undertakes austerities and penances for some material gain, it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that the results are temporary and that they are desired by persons of less intelligence. During the rainy season in the evening, there are many glowworms visible about the tops of trees hither and thither, and they glitter just like lights. But the luminaries of the sky, the stars, and the moon are not visible. Similarly, in the age of Kali, persons who are atheists or miscreants become very prominently visible, whereas persons who are actually following the Vedic principles for spiritual emancipation are practically obscured. This age, Kali Yuga, is compared to the cloudy season of the living entities. In this age, real knowledge is covered by the influence of the material advancement of civilization. The cheap mental speculators, atheists, and manufacturers of so called religious principles become prominent like the glowworms, whereas persons strictly following the Vedic principles or scriptural injunctions become covered by the cloud of this age. People should learn to take advantage of the actual luminaries of the sky, the sun, the moon, and stars, instead of the glowworm's light. Actually, the glowworms cannot give any light in the darkness of, of night, as clouds sometimes clear even in the rainy season, and sometimes the moon, stars, and the sun become visible. So, even in this Kali Yuga, there are sometimes advantages. For example, sometimes Lord Chaitanya's Vedic movement of distributing the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is heard. People seriously eager to find real light should take advantage of this movement instead of looking toward the light of mental speculators and atheists.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
After,
Mataji, we'll stop here.
yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you. So this again very two beautiful paragraphs. uh, uh, Prabhupada, I'll take the the second paragraph first. He mentions about so in these chapters, we'll see what happens during the rainy season. So we talked about cloud, how cloud distributes the water, and now in the rainy season, uh, you know, the I don't know, in the UK, when we have a rain, the glowworms come out. I think I've seen few places the glowworms come out. Uh, but in the tropical environment, when the rainy season comes in the night, these glowworms come out. These glowworms, they have a, in the night, when everything is dark, they look, very beautiful. They're just little light. But they look nice, but they do not give any much light. You cannot read, a book with the glowworms light. It's not that big enough. So here it is explained that this age of Kali, it is like this age of like a rainy season. In the rainy season, these glowworms come out, and these are the so-called, the religious leaders or the scientists or the mental speculators or even atheists, and they look very glorious and very famous, and very uh, you know kind of celebrities. uh, but here they are mentioned, they're like glowworms. They are no use to the society. uh, so in the rainy season, the real light is coming from the sun and the moon, but because of the cloud, that sunshine or the moonshine is covered. uh, but in that dark environment, the glowworms looks like, they are very beautiful, they are very nice, but actually they are no use to the society. So here Prabhupada mentions that the society should try to take, the light from the sun and the moon. So here it is kind of, implied that we should be patient. In sometimes in this age of Kali, now, we do not have to, give an example. We can see in this age of Kali, the current age that we are living, who are the most, famous and prominent people in the society. They are not religious or saintly people in this world. They are people actually, they hardly make any contribution in the society, and they are big celebrities. They are big influencers in the society. Mm. But Prabhupada mentions here that we should try to take advantage of the real saintly people. And if we take, if we remain a little patient, and if we search for it, we will find it. So he mentions about, the appearance of Lord Chaitanya. Uh, though this age of Kali is very horrible, but Lord Chaitanya and his devotees, they are coming. And when they come, when their influence come in the in our life, we get the real clarity and the real inspiration in our life. Here I'll, this one song of George Harrison comes in my mind. He wrote one song called "Here Comes the Sun." So it's a very famous song. Here comes the sun. So the sun is actually, when you have the sun in your life, we have the bhakti or devotion in your life, or Krishna in your life. You don't need glowworms. The the sun and the bhakti or Krishna in our life is sufficient for all our needs. And when the sun comes out, the everybody becomes very happy. uh, so this is mentioned in the second paragraph, and then in the first paragraph, uh, Prabhupada talks about the austerities in our life. So uh, it is everybody's experience living in this material world that to achieve anything, you need to work very hard. If you want to have a good degree, good education, you can't just keep on lying down in the bed and doing nothing and just loitering around. You cannot become a big scholar into chemistry or medical or lawyer. You have to work very hard. You have to study books and thesis and practicals and so many things you have to do. If you have to become a good businessman, a rich man, again you have to work very hard. Uh, where the raw material is, where the products are, the marketing and the pricing, and how to deal with the taxation and the advertising. So it's a hard work. Uh, so in this world, there is one rule which everybody has to follow. If you have to achieve something of value, you have to work very hard. Nothing in this world is free. But then we have to ask ourselves that after working hard, the result that I'm achieving, how much benefit that result is giving me. Hmm? So as per Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada mentions here that people are working very hard for the material gain. That material gain, how much benefit or value it gives, it is there for few years. But as soon as we die, all our accumulations and wealth and and the big name in the society and all, it is all taken away. So our scriptures, our teachers, our acharyas, they are inspiring us to ask us or ask the questions that all the hard work that you are doing, what value or what benefit, what tangible benefit it is bringing into your life. It might be there for some time, but then it is taken away. So then they are kind of, inspiring us to look for something where you do the same effort, that same hard work that you are doing, but the result is long lasting. Hmm? So I'll just read one or two lines from this paragraph. Yeah, by accepting austerity in devotional service, one regains his spiritual life. And as soon as one regains his spiritual life, he enjoys unlimited spiritual bliss. But if someone undertakes austerities and penances for some material gain, it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that the results are temporary and that they are desired by persons of less intelligence. Now, these are the words Prabhupada is repeating from Bhagavad Gita as it is. That the results, the material gains that we achieve after so much hard work, it is very temporary. And Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says this is aspired by the people of less intelligent. Why? Because they do not ask them the questions that all this hard work for what? Some accumulation of some bank balance. Now even nowadays even the wealth. What is wealth? The bank balance. They are just some numbers in the bank statement. You don't really see gold coins. Something. It is just the numbers going up and down. Uh, Now people are called, rich or richest men in the earth, and then how are they calculated? It is not that they have that so many gold coins or or some wealth physically in their possession. It is the value of shares, the company that they are holding, how much that company values. So it is all, kind of very fictitious kind of wealth. Mm. So and people are working very hard for it. And even that fictitious wealth, when you die, everything is taken away. Nothing comes with you. But Prabhupada, he writes here, by accepting the austerity in devotion service, one regains his spiritual life. And as soon as one regains his spiritual life, he enjoys unlimited spiritual bliss. So rather than working for the temporary material gain, one should work for the permanent spiritual bliss. So the austerities and penances one should undergo to gain the spiritual bliss, which is permanent with you. Mm. So, in our devotional tradition, we ask, we try to follow very rigorously these four regulative principles, no meditating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. Um, in a civilized society, this is, the basic standard that one has to follow. But in our modern society, the way we live our life, this looks like an austerity. But if we follow this austerity, it will give us the permanent spiritual bliss. It will take us to the platform, where we can follow our spiritual life very nicely. And then we build our spiritual life, with the even higher principles. We chant Krishna's name regularly. We read Krishna's book. We help the other people, those who are suffering in this world, by distributing this knowledge and helping them practically in their devotional life. Uh, and all these Krishna conscious activities, they give us the permanent result. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that this devotional life, the one who perfects the devotional life, at the end of this life, they go back to Godhead. They do not come back to this temporary world ever again. They go to the spiritual world and they never come back again. So Arjuna asks questions that what if Krishna, what if somebody he is not able to attain the perfection in his spiritual life. He somehow his standard is still not there to go back to Godhead. Krishna says, don't worry. Even if somebody who does not have perfected his life, in the next life he is given a birth either into a very uh, highly advanced Brahmins or devotees house, so he can carry on his spiritual life where he is left off, or he is given a birth into a very wealthy aristocratic family, where again he does not have to work very hard for the just for money or economic gain. He can have very comfortable life and carry on his spiritual life where he has left off. So so what basically Krishna is saying, that whatever you have achieved in this one life spiritually, it goes with you in your next life, and you carry on from where you have left off. Now that we cannot say about our own materialistic life. In this life, if I've got some my my engineering degree, and I got few thousand pounds of bank balance and a house, this is my accumulation. When I die and take next birth, I cannot go to the bank saying that in last birth I had that much bank balance, give it me back. Or you can go to the school and say that I do not need to become engineer again. I was engineer in my last life. I'll become, I'll start, I'll begin where I left off. You cannot say that. Again, you have to go back to the school, start A B C D and try to read and learn, and then carry on from there. uh, but in spiritual life, you start where you have left off in your last life. Nothing is lost ever. It always stays with you forever. Uh, so sometimes it is explained that it is like a bank account where only deposits are there. There is no withdrawal. In our materialistic life, we deposit throughout our life. Money and reputation and influence and wealth and everything into our bank account. That is our accumulation. Uh, and there is a withdrawal. Sometimes the children's take away, or or at the if the no other method, that the end of the life, the death takes away everything. So there's a lump sum withdrawal, closure of the account. Whatever you accumulated, it is taken away at one shot. But the spiritual life is a bank account where there is only deposit. There is never a single withdrawal. Whatever you've accumulated, whatever you achieved in your spiritual life, it stays with you forever. Nothing is taken away from you. So Prabhupada mentions that same principle in this paragraph. That if you have to work very hard anyway in this world, why shouldn't we work hard for something permanent benefit? For a spiritual bliss. We have to work hard anyway. You cannot stay. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, nobody can stay in this world without doing anything. So we have to work hard anyway. Then why don't we work hard for a permanent result rather than the temporary result? So again, in this and this with the season description of monsoon, or the rainy season, this is so wonderfully explained here. So now we'll go on the okay. Now this is a very wonderful description. Let's read this two paragraphs, and then we'll see whether we have time to go for some more paragraphs.
Shall I read, Prabhu?
So, yes, so now,
Yeah.
Shobha Aunty, I'll share it
Thank
with
you.
you.
Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
After the first rainfall, when there is a thundering sound in the clouds, all the frogs began to croak, like students suddenly engaged in reading their studies. Students are generally supposed to rise early in the morning. They do not usually rise of their own accord, however, but only when there is a bell surrounded in the temple or other spiritual institution. By the order of the spiritual master, they immediately rise, and after finishing their morning duties, they sit down to study the Vedas or chant Vedic mantras. Everyone is sleeping in the darkness of Kali Yuga. But when there is a great Acharya, great Acharya, by his calling only, everywhere takes to the study of the Vedas to acquire actual knowledge. During the rainy season, many small ponds, lakes, and river and rivulets become filled with the water. Otherwise, the rest of the year they remain dry. Similarly, materialistic person are dry, but sometimes when they are in a so-called opulent position, mm, with a home or children or a little bank balance, they appear to be flourishing. But immediately afterwards, they become dry again, like the small rivulets and ponds. Mm, The poet Vidyapati said that in the society of friends, family, children, wife, etc., there is certainly some pleasure, but that pleasure is compared to a drop of water in the desert. Everyone is hankering after happiness, just as the desert, everyone is hankering after water. If in the desert there is a drop of water, it may of course be said that the water is there, but the benefit from that drop of water is very insignificant. In our materialistic way of life, which is just like a desert, we are hankering after an ocean of happiness, but in the form of society, friends, and mundane love, we are getting no more than a drop of water. Our satisfaction is never achieved, as the small rivulets, lakes, and the ponds are never filled with the water in the dry season.
Hare
The
Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Mati, we'll stop there, Mati.
Hare Krishna.
Again, it's a very wonderful, two paragraph. This first paragraph, it talks about the croaking of a frog. In the rainy season, as soon as the rain starts, the frogs come out.
Students compared with the students.
And they starts croaking. Uh, so they only croak when the rain is there. Otherwise, they don't croak. Uh, so this is compared to the students. Those who are other. They. I mean, in the traditional school, the teachers, he rings the bell in the morning, and the students become awake and they start studying in the scriptures or the study subjects. So similarly, um, we are like those frogs, and we are sleeping in this world. uh, but when the great teacher or acharya comes in our life, like Srila Prabhupada, he wakes us up. Oh, sleeping soul, please wake up. Now we have got the human birth. Now, try to get the full benefit of this human birth, and then we become very inspired by the words of our teacher. And then we pick up our books, and study scriptures and study Vedas or the devotional literature, and practice our spiritual life. Uh, so see, the Shukdev Goswami, in Bhagavatam, is so intelligent. Even these, small things in whatever happens in the rainy season, he's trying to give us, these so wonderful teachings. Now, who can think of, that croaking of frog can be compared to students? But this is the greatness of our teacher, Shukdev Goswami. That is, even through the medium of frog, he can give us some nice lesson. And in the next paragraph, now this is, see the greatness of Shukdev Goswami. That, in the rainy season, there are small puddles. If it is no rain, you don't see a water there. But as soon as rain comes, like this small puddle or pothole, somewhere, you see a water there. And after the rain season is over, they become dry again. Now, I don't know how many times we have observed, I have not observed, before I read this paragraph, that when rain comes, there's water at so many places, but as soon as the rain stops, and then after some times it dries. Uh, so this is compared to the temporary, the opulence of materialistic person. That materialistic person, and he works very hard, and then because of that hard work, that he has some accumulation of wealth, and now again, he's is enjoying his benefit of whatever is worked for. So yes, uh, we do work very hard, get money, uh, but then it says it is all, your karma. Because of your karma of study, you get certain wealth, and again after some time it is taken away. Hmm. So the opulence, temporary opulence of materialistic person, it is like, the accumulation of water in that pond. After some time, it is going to dry. It is going to go away. Uh, so such a wonderful, observation. It is there. And then the Prabhupada, the Shukdev Goswami talks about that, people can ask questions, that, oh, you are all very pessimistic people. There is nice to have wealth, there is nice to have family, and there is nice to have so much, enjoyment in the society. Why are you against it? So we are not against the enjoyment. In fact, in the Shastra, the Krishna is said, our right is to be enjoying every moment of our life. This is our right. This is our birthright. Um, we say we are Sachidananda Vigraha. So we are eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss. We had to be blissful all the time, every time, without even a second's disturbance. This is our birthright. But we're trying to be happy at wrong place. We're trying to be happy with the things which will not make us happy. Uh, So yes, there are some temporary pleasures in the society. Mm. But Prabhupada mentions here, these pleasures, they are just like a drop of the water. Your requirement is the eternal happiness, but you are getting only a drop of happiness. This drop of happiness is just like a drop in the desert. I haven't been to desert. I don't know if any of you have ever been to desert. When in a hot desert, immediately after some time, you feel you want to drink some water, and then you're very very thirsty, and what you get is a little, one drop of water. Uh, how much you'll be satisfied? Of course, that sensation of one drop of water on your tongue will give some happiness. But is this is what is this enough or sufficient for us? Uh, so this so-called pleasures of the society, yes, there is some pleasure. Nobody is denying that, but that is not sufficient for us. What our need, what our requirement, or what exactly what our real claim or what we deserve is the eternal happiness. And what we are getting, trying to be satisfied, is just the drop of that happiness. So the intelligent person, he says, how do I get that eternal happiness? He asked this question: how do I get this eternal happiness? Should I be just be happy with this drop of water in the desert? Certainly not. If he's an intelligent person, he says, certainly, this is not sufficient for me. So he looks for the place where he has the ocean of water. So so wonderfully, this is described, just by the example of a little puddle in the on the road. I get this such a wonderful lesson from this one. So it's nearly 9:05 now. So I stop here. This is a very long chapter. I'll see. Sorry, phone call came. Sorry about that. So this chapter is a really long one. Uh, Maybe next week we'll take the remaining part of the chapter, and then we'll conclude this chapter. So we'll stop here now.